Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. We don't know what time of day you are listening in, but this is BE Bonafide.
With your girls, Brittany and Erica.
Yes.
We're tuning in with us a few minutes out of your day to give you the tools for a bona fide life.
Yes, indeed. How are you today, girl? Sorry, you go first.
I'm good. Living life as usual. Same busy schedule.
Yeah.
Work, home stuff. But all is good. How are you?
That's good to hear things are good with you, even though things are busy. For me, life is very interesting. Reflecting on the topics we've had last week and our topic today has really had me thinking a lot about how I don't know, I feel like I've transitioned back into not fully living my life the way that I want to. Being annoyed by that, but also realizing it's kind of like an intervention stage for myself to get out of that and go back to living for me. So been very interesting, I would say. So last week was about breaking free from unrealistic expectations is what started this journey, and then we'll get to what our topic is today.
Okay. Well, for those that are new to our channel or our podcast, we are BE Bonafide, and our podcast is about authenticity and challenging whether you're living this one life true to yourself. So welcome in new bonafide baddies and daddies, and join us on this journey of self-discovery.
And as you stick with us, you will realize how much of this journey is ups and downs, including from us who are leading this topic each week on authenticity. Sometimes we're like full in and focused on what our authentic life looks like, and other times I'm like, are we even, not you, Erica, but me, am I even listening to the stuff that I'm telling people to do?
No, that's real. That's real.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah. So this journey, ups and downs. Sometimes I'm right there, but other times, like, dang, I really need to keep working on myself a little bit.
Yeah. It does. I mean, we can talk all day about it, and we even had a episode with don't talk about it.
We did. We did.
So it's hard to stay focused sometimes. Like you get used to your routine, doing your day-to-day thing, and like you get stuck in that rut of doing what you're normally doing, and then like trying to implement new things in. It can be difficult sometimes. It's hard. So, yep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you understanding. Giving me understanding as I'm talking about this.
So I have our say yeah, y'all, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet today. Kind of another little mushy gushy story. Okay. It's kind of funny though, and I kind of want to hear your feedback.
Sometimes I laugh at inappropriate things or say inappropriate things. So let's hear it. I want to hear what this is too.
So, there was this. So it was an article I seen on, of course, the Good News Network. We love going there.
We do.
There was this Chinese woman that was like ran over by this man in the street. Okay, I think his name was Lee, but she was unnamed. It didn't name her in the article. Sent her to the hospital. It like broke her collarbone.
How you were talking about this is funny in itself. He's like, yeah, she just got ran over by this man. Like, it's just a normal topic. I don't know if you saw my face, but I digress. Continue, please.
Y'all, I still have this cough. It is driving me crazy. I have a cough drop in my mouth. I'm sorry. So, anyways, so this guy, this woman is like 20. I think she's 26. No, she's 23. This is another Lewis story.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she's 23 years old. She gets ran over by this 36-year-old man. And she ends up going to the hospital. She's like, when it happened, he went over and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Are you okay?" She's like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's okay. It's all good." She ends up going to the hospital. Her family, I guess, because they seen how remorseful he was, they didn't press charges on him. And then like, she obviously like had a thing for this guy, apparently, like when she seen him. So he visited her at the hospital and stuff. And then I guess he was like resistant to her like attraction to him at first. And then but they kept in contact and they ended up going to a movie. And then I can't remember what month this happened in, but the article said by September she was pregnant, and then they were married by February. That's a literal say what?
Exactly. Say what now?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what happened. I mean, it's like one of those love stories. Love it.
Like, they ended up together.
Yeah, they got married. Oh, another side thing. He was her, I think, 6th person he had hit that year, but she was the last one. And that was the ending.
Good. So good. So positive.
How that ended up on the Good News Network, I don't know. I mean, is it good news? Like, are we dealing with a pedophile out here? Like, what is happening?
I don't know. 6 people. What's going on?
I mean, she was the last one. He didn't need anybody else. So that's good news.
Yes. Great news. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to go there. How many things? Like questions. Like so many things. It's not our topic. Whew, man. That was hilarious and unexpected. They found love in their situation. He stopped hitting people. Maybe they should take his license away.
Maybe.
I mean, oh wow. Very interesting.
But he said he had no plans for marriage or anything, and then just out of nowhere he hits his wife, breaks her collarbone, gets her pregnant.
He must be fine.
He
has to be.
But for you to be hit in the middle of the road and somebody say, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Oh, it's okay."
Nah, my arm's hanging off. You are so good. And then the family forgave him too. He must be fine. He must be fine.
Yeah,
that is hilarious.
But that was. I mean, we say it's good news, but it's also like, say what? Like that was like
know his
more like
story.
That was more like on the say what side, like more news.
It was happily ever after. Question mark. I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Kinda. Okay. But thank you for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
I told you I laugh inappropriately at stuff. We just had a whole laughing session about something I'm not even sure was funny.
There's so many things wrong with it.
There is, and we just was laughing really hard. But it's okay. That shows a little bit about us and our sense of humor.
I'm so happy for you guys. May you live happily ever after. Yep.
That's how we gonna end.
Yeah.
Next. Introspection, yes. Conception, which is our topic of the week. And this one is how society tries to define us, or society tries to define us in general. And by the end of the topic is breaking free of labels, because that is what society is really good at portraying it as something normal, really good at portraying labels as something normal. And so our topic is how society tries to define us, and breaking free of labels going hand in hand with that. And so to start off, the definition of a label, I found two. They're similar, but they're different. And so the first one is a classifying phrase or name applied to a person or thing, especially one that is inaccurate or restrictive. So I thought was interesting, that last part. And then the other one, it was just general. It was words or phrases used to describe a person's characteristics and qualities.
Okay.
But mention nothing about restrictive or inaccurate. So that's just as a start. So, as I mentioned, society is good at making people believe that there are these pre-established labels or categories that every single person on this earth absolutely must fit into. And when someone doesn't fit into that mold, that label, then the reaction is usually that that person is abnormal, and it's usually associated with something that's more negative. Because honestly,
unknown.
Yeah, and it's the unknown, because when I thought about it too, like in more of a general sense, not looking at it as negative or positive, labels, because they're so commonly used, they are a way of us understanding each other, because we know what, these certain labels mean. And so when somebody describes himself as something, or somebody else describes somebody as a label, we understand what that means when they call somebody this.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting, but at the end of the day, on this journey of authenticity, labels can be very restrictive and can prevent you from getting to know who you truly are at the end of the day. So, Erica, I don't know if you have personal experiences with labels, and whether you have agreed with them, whether you have given your own self labels that have restricted you, or whether others have. I'm sure we all have, but you should look at your face, you're like, girl, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, it just depends on, like, honestly, where I was living and, like, what part of my life that we're talking about. Like, high school labels, middle school labels, college labels, work labels, family labels. Like, you can be labeled and categorized in different areas and aspects of your life, just depending on, like, the people that you're around. And, because everybody's going to have, in that particular environment, an expectation for you in that particular environment. So, like, for instance, at school, all my life, I was the smart girl. And then in high school, I kind of like stuck out because I went to a majority Black school. I mean, I'm biracial, but like my skin stick out a little bit. So I was literally, my nickname in high school was White Girl.
Wow.
Even though I'm not white. Yeah. So I was given that label. And honestly, you know what? It kind of like, it made me, I don't know. It did kind of like I like allowed people to say it, but it kind of like hurt a little bit. And like to be like labeled how I look.
How you look on the outside, yeah.
And then like, or even like the smart girl, like I remember people like trying to ask me to help them do their work, or do their work for them, or people kind of copy off of me. But I mean, that was way back when. But you really didn't understand like labels and stuff. But like it starts.
It does start. It starts really young. Do you feel like in both of those instances, it affected your identity, your self-identity?
I do. Like, you start seeing. So I really feel like generation to generation, labels change. Like, for instance, when we were coming up in our generation, we didn't necessarily have social media like we do now. Social media, it came later, and it can affect me now, and it does affect me now in some sort of way. But like back when we were kids, our social media was just like TV, magazines, like actresses in Hollywood, trying to be, and like the things that we seen then and how we were affected, or the things that affected us back then, are different.
Very
than the
different.
things.
Wasn't necessarily as immediate either.
I still think that like physical appearance is like one of the main things that you're always going to come across for especially women. It primarily affects women. I'm not saying it doesn't affect men, but there are a lot of expectations for physical things for women. Do you not agree?
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, I definitely agree. I don't know when you were talking, like the word thick came into mind.
Yeah.
Thick.
You got that label, did you not?
Oh, I did. Did you too, girl? Did you also get that?
We talking about back then?
We're talking about both, especially now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like even that word, I don't know, I guess it also depends on like how people use it when they say things, but it's a word that is used in society to mean a certain thing, which, some people, we talk about thick, especially when it comes to females, some people that gives them pride, that gives them a sense of pride. Some people are aiming to be that. Right. Some people don't want to be anywhere close to that label because of what that means to them. But again, at the end of the day, the word thick, what that means, it's still society's word that is used to describe somebody specifically. I don't know, because even when I was younger, I don't know, people thought my family was rich. Like, they thought we were well off. They thought we had money. And so it was interesting because I think back then, and I think it even followed me into adulthood, I always tried to hold myself in a way to where, not that people thought I was rich, but I also didn't just tell people about my financial status or anything like that. But it was kind of like how we carried ourselves, like how I carried myself. People always thought I had money. But growing up, we did get a lot of the stuff that we wanted, but it was not because we were rich. It was because both my parents were working overtime to get the stuff that we wanted, and nobody knew that. So they always thought, and plus we lived like 25 minutes outside of town in the country on family's land. So nobody ever saw us. Like, we went to school 25 minutes away. Nobody ever saw us. And so they just assumed, stuff.
That's ironic.
Right? It's a completely different story if they knew the truth. Yeah. But even just having that label, it just made me think. I never identified as that, but it was interesting that people would, describe me and my family in that way.
Okay.
Yeah, but overall, the reason why talking about labels is important, and more importantly, breaking free of labels is important, is because, again, on the road of authenticity, labels are restrictive in the point where they prevent you from thinking outside of the box of what these words mean. And it may be so simple, just thinking about that these words they're just words that everybody use. But that's the thing. Society has convinced everybody so much. This is just a regular part of life. This is how you should be. This, society chooses how you should describe yourself, the words you should use to describe yourself, what kind of job certain people should have. Like, so many different things that we don't realize that these words and these terms were so attached to.
So like after like so long of hearing certain words that are associated with you, that do you feel like people really start believing like what others are putting them in that
after hearing it for so long? Yeah, it's hard not to. It's really hard not to. And just talking about like the power of society, even for myself, when I've realized that, like, especially like right before I quit my job, and I didn't want to work a 9-to-5. I wanted to have my own thing. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, just making money on my own the way that I wanted to. after what led me to being in the job for 6 years was being content, being in the everyday, hustle, the rat race, going to work every day. And I got kind of like trapped in it. So the power of society, this is what you do, 9 to 5, you go to work, you do this, you do this. You thinking outside of the box, that's not where you're going to get support from. People are not going to support you doing that as much. Go get a job, get your Social Security, decades from now, like that type of thing. But the expectations of what people should do on a daily basis, it was so strong. I started to like veer off from what I wanted to do, being able to make money my own way, just because that's like what was echoing around me, family, friends, coworkers. Like it's just something that you do every day. And so, yes, if you continue to hear that over and over again, those certain labels, I know that it's hard to fight what society presents in front of you and tells you what you should look like and who you should be. Or if you do these things, then you're outside of the norm. Something wrong with you.
There's some challenges that you may face if you're, put in these constraints. It's social rejection, isolation, that can lead to some mental health issues especially with the isolation. Internal conflict with yourself, self-doubt, not believing in yourself, fear of failure. We talked about, operating out of fear. And a lot of people will stay in those boxes because they're scared to go outside of the box and fail and what people may say. And then we've also mentioned before, basically, creating your own path. And that's really what you're doing when you're being authentic. But that creating your own path, you don't have instructions. You're not given instructions. There's no clear guidance. Sometimes fear of guidance or lack of guidance and fear of the unknown, it just keeps people inside of a box.
Mention a box. I had an example of a box. Just like a visualization kind of exercise. And so adhering to the labels and again, these could be labels that you place on yourself. This might not be society overall, influenced by society, but this could be like your family and friends who don't realize that they're doing it to you. Again, but labels can be positive. They can also be negative. But they keep you inside of a box. And so what I thought about the visualization is being inside of a box, which of course is the societal expectations and where you are meant or where society wants you to be in. So within this box, visualize just this very thin layer. It's kind of like a mesh layer, like on the outside of it. And as you start to step outside of the box by doing the things that are not expected of you, or not doing the things that are expected of you, say you feel like an electrical charge, like there's an electrical charge in this mesh wiring outside of this box. And so as soon as you start to step out of it to be different, to do your own thing, you receive an electrical charge, and so you come back in, you're right where you're supposed to be. And so, but as you keep going, as you keep pushing out of it, more and more of your body, the electrical charge is going to get even stronger because, and so that's like disapproval from others. That's misunderstanding about who you are, the things that you're doing. Those are the hits that you take from people, from society, from jobs, from family, when they don't understand why you're being different, when it's just naturally you doing what you feel that you should be doing. You're just living your life. But it's so much of an opposition to what should be. That's the resistance that you feel when you're getting this electrical shock until you're finally all the way out of the box. And there's nothing else there for you. You're good. You have come into acceptance. You understand. You've understood. You felt the shocks along the way from everybody. And you've decided that that's still where you want to be. You want to be yourself. And then, not to say the shocks won't come back in other ways, but just for the visualization of thinking outside of the box, going outside of the box, I at least wanted to present that because that is what will happen.
You break out of that box, you're gonna have new possibilities.
Yes.
Things that you didn't even know.
Create your own box. Maybe there's no box outside. Maybe there's not another box. You just got to get out of this one. And again, this journey is not meant to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And that's the point. Yeah. The point is, how much do you love yourself? How much do you respect yourself? And how much do you want change in your life? Just, again, take a chance on yourself to see what life could look like for you.
Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, there's always going to be some kind of impact when you're stepping out, but
yeah,
you just have to stay focused on what you want. And end of it all, I've said this before, you're going to. And why are you constricting, restraining, staying in this box that everybody else wants you to be in? If that's not who you are, that's not how you want to live your life. Don't
do it. And again, it sounds so simple, but again, it is not. But yeah, as we talked about before, this season, we're going to keep hitting on how serious this topic is, especially when it comes to, again, our whole motto is just one life. And then evaluating if you're living this one life truly, your authentic self. In this one life, at the end of that life, you do die. Will you have regret? I know every time we say that.
Yeah, we're all gonna die. But in summary,
do you want to have regret that you lived your life like everybody else around you? Is that really what you want to say? I mean,
it's easier said than done.
It is,
because I'm still on this journey. It's just hard. It's hard because you really still have so many other factors, because you've been placed in these boxes or this category that you're this type of person. As soon as you step out of anything remotely different than what people are used to, you're gonna have some people that reject you. Gonna end friendships, in relationships. Proceed with caution, but in the end, you will be more fulfilled. You will be happier because you're going to be living your true life. Breaking free from labels. It's going to promote growth within yourself. It's going to build a more, and showing other people your bravery of doing so and coming out and making these new paths for other people. You're actually help building a more accepting and a more inclusive society. So, you could be creating a new box.
That sounds exciting. No, but for real, that would be really cool. I know I did have 2 challenges. I guess it's our homework, but 2 challenges. And they are minor things, but it's just to begin the thoughts of just how frequently we use labels, and then just thinking outside of the box just a little bit, not to use those labels when describing things. And so the first challenge I had was to choose a loved one. It could also or be yourself, and compliment them without using a label to describe them. And so an example I had was, so say you think someone, or even, yourself, is a go-getter or a hustler. And, depending on who you are, those things could be a good or a bad thing, but just for this example. And so one thing I thought about, instead of saying, okay, say it's my sister, I respect that you are a go-getter, I respect your hustle, or that you are a hustler. But instead of saying, I respect your consistency to pursue your dream.
Wow.
Absent of labels. Because I guess you think about it too, when you label somebody as a go-getter or a hustler, like, I feel like you're not saying any of what I just said in there.
So it's basically turning a noun into a verb. I got real nerdy. So you're describing somebody when you're describing somebody as a noun or an adjective.
Yeah.
You're a go-getter. But if you say that you're consistent, that is
no, but I do as
action.
And it was kind of hard at first thinking about, like, I wanted to use like another label, like, naturally. So choose a loved one or yourself, compliment them or yourself without using a label to describe them. Like, actually say it to their face, or look at yourself in the mirror, and do that. And so that's exercise number 1. Number 2, along the same concept, redefine yourself. Redefine yourself without labels that have been placed on you by others, society, or yourself. So again, redefine yourself without the labels that you have been placed upon you by other, society, or yourself. And one example I thought about for myself in particular was the label of a dreamer. And so that can mean a lot of different things. It can be negative, depending on who you're talking to. It can be positive. And so instead of redefining myself as a dreamer, what I rephrased it as was, I have passion to see the life that I want beyond the life that I currently have.
I love that.
Instead of saying that I'm a dreamer.
Okay.
So it kind of lets you like specify and like hone in on the details behind a label that you would have had there before. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having English lessons here. Verbs, adjectives, only action words.
Action words. No labels. Yes. So those were the two exercises. And I thought, again, this is just the beginning of the process, just to start you thinking differently about how you describe others, how you describe yourself, and see yourself. Right. See everybody outside of these labels and realize how restrictive they are. Because we don't need no restrictions when it comes. Restrictions are not a part, well, they are, but in general, they're not a part of this journey of authenticity. They shouldn't be, especially when you're in the process of discovering who you are.
Correct. Agreed. Yes.
But I do have, I'm going to say 2 quotes of the day. I put down 4. I said I was going to decide how I felt, right? I am sometimes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that was a label. Yeah. And that we realized it at the same time. No, I am not. Rephrase.
I admire your extensive efforts of finding wonderful and very informative quotes.
That is so funny. That is awesome that we realized it in the moment that you said it and I accepted it immediately. Interesting. You see how often and how commonplace this is? But quote of the day, let's see. Okay, so the first one, don't let society's labels limit your potential. Break free from the mold and create your own path is the first one, by Unknown.
Okay.
I used to worry about the labels others placed on me until I realized my limitations weren't coming from their labels, but from my own.
That's when you start believing them.
Yeah. And that was Dr. Steve Maraboli. Yeah.
That's true. That's true, though.
Yeah. I lied. So I have 3.
Keep it.
The last one, don't wear the labels people give you and don't let the labels wear you. You are beyond everything. Okay. It's by Nightingale.
Okay. Yes. Don't wear those labels. Don't believe what people tell you about yourself. You know who you are.
Define yourself outside of labels.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brittany, for those wonderful tools.
You're welcome.
So I just want to tell y'all, thank you for joining us today once again. And join us next week for another introspection conception. It's going to be a surprise to both us and you. But in the meantime, come on and socialize with us on our social media accounts. Yes, our Instagram is learning to be bonafide, which is learning 2 BE_bonafide. Our Facebook page is b.e.bonafide podcast. And then you might already be watching us on YouTube, but our YouTube channel is L2BE Bonafide. So that's L 2 BE Bonafide. Thank y'all for joining us this week. We hope you have a good morning, a good evening, good afternoon, and a good night. I think I said that backwards, but it's okay. Wherever you are, we'll catch you next week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.